Hi, this is Garrett Wong. I played Ensign Kim on Star Trek Voyager, and you're listening to Kneel Before Pod.
Kneel Before Blog presents Kneel Before Pod.
Hello, and welcome to another tolerant episode of Kneel Before Pod, the podcast that has all the relevant paperwork to prove we're a citizen of Earth. Honest. I'm your host Craig, and since Supergirl recently completed a 4th season, I thought it might be worth talking about. Representing the pro-human side of the debate, we have Chris.
Hello.
And the pro-alien side of the debate, we have Andrew.
Boo.
If you just give me a minute, I'll be able to hide my spine so it doesn't offend you as much.
And I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because I think that everybody has good points. I don't know. This is some kind of weird talk show. Anyway, welcome to this weird talk show.
Thank you.
So before we get crucified for any kind of implied hate speech, we're gonna start liking and hating stuff. Chris, as the pro-human side of the debate, why don't you start us off with a kneel before?
I am going to kneel before the little teaser trailer we've had for Terminator Dark Fate. I know that the Terminator franchise is riddled with bad movies, and I know that trailers have lied to us in the past. However, I'm always kind of up for a Terminator film. It can be a bit of a guilty pleasure on some of them, and this looks like it might be a bit of fun, so... yeah.
It just looks like Salvation, but with Sarah Connor in it.
It does a bit, and I don't know. I think it could be fun. I will probably be proven wrong. I'm not going to knock it from the first trailer. I'm going to give it time before I start knocking it. Sort of a bit like we did with Aladdin, but just not start with the trailer.
Fair enough. I don't like the look of this at all, so... you've just taken my rise against? No, yeah.
Have I knelt before your rise against?
No, I mean I would rise against it later. No, it was a contender, but yeah, I don't like it. I don't know. I think I just don't like Terminator anymore. I've seen 1 and 2 and the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and that's it.
Like I said, I have been burnt with these before, and this could burn me again. But yeah, I think there looks like there's some quite good actiony stuff. They're doing a couple of different bits with effects. If I was to rise against it a bit, I could easily switch round and say that there doesn't seem to be anything new in it. But I don't know how new they could do with, and then it wouldn't really be a Terminator film. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thoughts on Dark Fate, Andrew?
Kind of ambivalent. Like most people, I'm kind of a bit indifferent to Terminator now because it's just like a thing that keeps happening rather than something to look forward to. Though I think when the description of anything ends with the words "but with Sarah Connor," that does improve it at least 50%. And also, I do really like Mackenzie Davis, and quite looking forward to see.
Is she the Sam Worthington-esque character that she appears to be?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah. You know, the Terminator that thinks it's a human. Just like in Salvation. Well,
my theory on the matter is that she's actually a human who has been augmented with bits of Terminators.
Just like in Salvation.
You know what, I can't even remember Salvation well enough to even argue the point.
Yeah, okay. That's probably wise. It can't be worse than Genisys, surely. I mean, can it?
Yeah, well, it doesn't have Jai Courtney in it, so... well, hopefully not.
We'll see. Yeah, okay. There's another Terminator film coming out, and yay, we've got another Terminator film coming out. Can we not get season 3 of the Sarah Connor Chronicles instead? It'd be cheaper, and more people would probably watch it.
And also, now that Game of Thrones is finished, Lane Headey's schedule is now free.
Yeah,
presumably.
So what's Summer Glau doing these days? Chuck her in. That guy that played John Connor probably hasn't worked since.
Thomas Dekker.
Yeah, that guy. Has he worked since? You'll know.
I don't recall offhand seeing him in anything.
Oh, there we go. Even Andrew hasn't seen him since. That's how obscure he is. Because you watch everything, of course.
I like the career barometer.
Yeah, that's it. If Andrew hasn't seen you in a while,
we start with Chris. If Chris has seen you, then you're doing pretty well. Then Craig, you're kind of in the middle of your career. You're either on your way up or you're on your way out. Andrew's seen you. You're on your way out, my friend. Your career either hasn't started or it's over already.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. That's going to be the yardstick of by which we measure the success of actors.
Works for me.
Yeah. Okay, so what are you kneeling before, Andrew?
Right, so this one is a little bit dated, but it's still a fun thing I want to mention, and this is Shera and the Princesses of Power. So this was an animated Netflix series, which is a remake of the 80s Shera series, except this one is just so much more fun. In yes, okay, it's a thing which is basically aimed at prepubescent girls, but everything about it is done so well, then it's something that really anyone can enjoy. A big ensemble cast of really interesting characters. The storylines are they're simple enough for kids to follow, but they aren't so simple that they're actually boring to watch. And one particular thing that makes it stand out is that everyone and everything in it is so incredibly gay. There's like unicorns and rainbows and glitter and sparkles, and it is magnificent.
I'm not sure I like where this is going. Is this about to be a staunch defence of My Little Pony?
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Good. What is the collective noun for Shera fans?
The way that each character is portrayed in it, I don't think that there's a single one who is coded like as entirely heterosexual. Like there's a degree of fluidity to everybody. Some a little more overtly than others. For most characters, there isn't anything ever said directly, just allusions to it by some characters being really close friends. Or being a lot of jealousy when they get ditched for somebody else. But I think the way that it's portrayed is what I would imagine it feels like if you're for a young person kind of realizing that they aren't quite straight and is still figuring themselves out. Then I would think that the attitudes of the characters would echo the feelings of these kids, and would help them better realise what's going on with themselves and understand that there's nothing wrong with them. And I think that's quite an important message in kids' TV.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I haven't really seen this. I can't remember if anybody has knelt before it before. I feel like Angus might have, but I'm not sure. Or maybe that was just the universe he wanted to live in during the 100th podcast. Yeah. That was a superhero he wanted to be while accepting the backstory or something like that. Yeah, I think that was it. I don't know. I'm allowing it anyway. It's already happened, so I can't not allow it. So, yeah. Is He-Man in it, or is he mentioned?
No, there's not even any allusion to He-Man at all.
All right, okay. Until Netflix do that show, I guess.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And if they do, I hope it will be considerably less homoerotic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how you can only go down from what it was before. Cool. I don't know if I'll ever watch this. Maybe I will one of these days. You know, when I catch this mythical illness that I don't feel too bad, but I have to be off work for 2 years. Yeah, and have time to watch TV. So, Chris, do you know anything about this, or?
I don't really know much about this, and it's a back reference that will probably need to be edited out, but I now know why all those adverts keep coming up in Andrew's browsing browsing tabs. It's a joke that it doesn't work on this podcast whatsoever.
But, since you're listening to the Supergirl podcast, you're listening to the Legends of Tomorrow one, so you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
And like the episodes of CW crossovers, you'll need to know what order to listen to them beforehand.
Well, I number all the podcasts now, so that should be easy. Yeah. See, I'm smart. We're counting up to 200, which, I don't know, award show or game show, you decide.
Musical.
musical. Oh, that'll happen. I thought it was going to happen during the Legends with a Bollywood number, but it did not. Mostly because
we clearly need to make more effort.
Yeah, maybe the iZombie one. There's a dancing number in one of those episodes. Anyway, my Neil Before, unsurprisingly, is the teaser for Star Trek Picard. I talked about the leaked clip that was released in a prior podcast that hasn't been published by the time I record this, but we got a teaser on the 25th anniversary of the airing of All Good Things, which was the Next Generation finale. How amazing is that? Like, I mean, it's as if they knew.
Yeah, of course you know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was on Twitter all day, and then the Picard teaser came out. There's not much to it. You get to see the vineyard where the wine Chateau Picard, the grapes are grown that go into Chateau Picard. Then you see some bottles of Chateau Picard, and then you see Captain Picard looking, or not Captain Picard actually. You see Jean-Luc Picard looking, well, about as old as he does, as Patrick Stewart does now. So, and there's all this talk about how he's left Starfleet. He's something happened to him that caused him to lose his way, and he's left Starfleet, and he's all. I don't know what to expect, but I think we're going to get a kind of deep psychological look in a different way of an iconic character, and I could not be more excited. So much so that the next 2 hours of this podcast are just us talking about that Picard teaser. We already spent 4 hours talking about the 2-second clip that was released, but this was at least a minute, so days, my friends, days. No, I'm not going to talk about it for days, but I'm excited. Has anyone else seen this?
I did see it, yeah. Well, just as a teaser, there's not really that much to say about it, but
yet so much.
Maybe what was it? That nice acknowledgement that like this is a real thing, which is actually happening, and will happen, and you'll get to see. And really, just more of seeing Picard on TV is a good thing. Doesn't matter what he's doing.
Yeah,
like just the very fact that it's Picard will make it worth watching.
I love how they called it Star Trek Picard. I mean, they had all this time to think of a title. And it's just like, what are we going to call it? And it's like, you can imagine it being the meeting. It's like something like Love Day, but not so lame. It's like, we're just going to go Picard? Yep, that's lunch.
I have the feeling that they had that written down, because like, it leaked a while ago and they said, oh, it's going to be called Picard. And everyone went, no, that's just like a production name. And I do kind of feel it's one of those things that they had down on a bit of paper and they went, yeah, we're going to come up with a proper title later, but at the moment we're just calling it this. Okay, and then we're going to come up with a really super name that's going to make a lot of sense, and it's not going to be spoilery, so people aren't going to be able to guess what it's about before we do the show, okay? Yeah. In the meantime, let's work on all the story and everything else. And then they got closer and closer and they went, right, we really need to start releasing publicity stuff now, so what are we going to call it? What name have we got on the boards? The ideas board, guys. We've still got the one we had right at the beginning.
Yeah, but the marketing guys, they can make the A in his name look like the Starfleet Delta Shield insignia. Oh my god, that's it.
Boom,
that's
genius.
I don't care what it's called, it's still going to be great, because it's Jean-Luc Picard and we're getting him back, and I never thought I'd be able to say that.
It's just going to be John Luke on a wine tasting tour of the outer solar system.
Yeah, and I'd watch it.
Yeah,
I'd totally be there.
You should see episode 3. He's drunk. Whether we'll get any cameos from Next Generation cast members, we don't know. We know that Jonathan Frakes is directing a couple of them, because Jonathan's got to pay the bills and finds excuses for not turning up to conventions, as he does. So yeah, pumped for this. Can't wait. More Picard, more Star Trek, more. Brilliant. So before we talk about this all night, let's move on to Rise Against. So Chris, go for it. What are you rising against?
What am I rising against? I am rising against... Where is it? Hang on. I am going to rise against a film which is, at the moment, being called Titanboa, about a ginormous snake. It is looking to the Meg for inspiration, because what we need are giant animal monsters because those films are always really, really good.
Who's fighting it?
It's being worked on at the moment, so I don't know if it has. If it's got to be sort of, I don't know, Vin Diesel, Jason Statham. It's going to be something like that, you know.
Statham's done the Meg. He can't do this. He'll be typecast as a guy that fights giant monsters.
I know. Maybe they'll just you could put a moustache or something on him so that we don't recognise him. You know, it's a totally different character fighting a massive boa constrictor.
I'm gonna say Vin Diesel.
Yeah, could be.
Terry Crews? Yeah, let's go for Terry Crews.
Terry Crews.
Giant tarantula?
I mean, I have the feeling that is probably like next on the list. You know, if they're doing giant snake, they've done giant shark. So yeah, giant spider to scare everyone. Sure, why not?
That film was already been done. It was called Arachnophobia.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
giant rabbit.
Yeah, but what I was thinking it could actually have like giant tarantula actually fighting a giant boa, like they do in in all those wonderfully, magnificently terrible sci-fi channel movies.
shared universe now.
Thinking like Sharktopus versus Crocosaurus.
So we could have like Titanboa v massive
like
mouth.
Arachnodon.
I liked Aztec Rex, where they just found a T-Rex inside an Aztec temple. That was fun. What else was there? Mega Snake. That has, what's his name? He was in Stargate. Michael Shanks. He plays a guy who's really, really drunk, probably because he was just really drunk while making the film, and they just had to leave it in because he wasn't going to be any other way. Titanboa. I don't know much about it. I know it's a thing that exists. It depends what muscly guy they're going to have fighting him, as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, the Rock always does these things. Let's leave him out of it. So Vin Diesel, Terry Crews, Sylvester Stallone, maybe Arnie. I don't know. He's not done a film like that in a while. Get Arnie in. Yeah, why not?
Or just put the pictures of the entire cast of the Expendables around a roulette wheel, spin it, and see where it lands.
Yeah, and then it just lands on Jason Statham. It's like, oh, not again! Why does it always land on Jason Statham? It's like it's rigged. Like, Statham keeps himself in work by putting extra weight next to his picture so that it always lands on him. It's like, yes, another job!
Or they could go the other way and have the hero be a woman and have her played by someone like Gina Carano. Yeah, or now that Becky Lynch is becoming a superstar, then it could be like her debut.
Yeah, but it's going to be like Ronda Rousey or someone like that, isn't it?
Oh, she needs to just die in a fire.
Wow. Okay, and representing the pro-alien debate is... Okay.
Yeah, well, just more the sort of anti-transphobic kind of side of things, really.
That's fair. Okay, Andrew, what are you rising against?
I am rising against Brightburn, as in like the kind of evil Superman as the Omen horror movie. Though not specifically the film itself, but the fact that it's been released in the States now, but we're not going to get it for another month. And I don't accept this because I want to see it now.
Yeah, it's like 2001 again. We have to wait like months or a month.
And I don't know why this is. I've not seen any justification for it. Yeah, it's just they decided that this is when we're going to get it, and I just find it incredibly frustrating. And even though the reviews that are coming out for it are somewhat middling, I don't care. I still think it looks great fun, and I just really want to see it, and I can't, even though many other people have.
Yeah, it's annoying me too because I'm already seeing articles that's spoiler in the Brightburn post-credit scene. Like, what? Like, I didn't even know there was a post-credit scene, and now there's a spoiler in it. You know, someone turns up apparently. Who turns up? I don't know. Superman, maybe.
Yeah, especially with the shortening now in sort of spoiler embargoes, even from like creators and stuff now. They go, oh yeah, well, it's been about 2 weeks. Everyone's had the chance to see it. Let me put up my pictures from set of this moment that happened.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, hang on, it's not been released worldwide yet, and we've not had a chance to see it. Yeah, I'm the same. I think it's one that's been knelt before a few times here, so we are really looking forward to it.
At least once, yeah.
Yeah, and it just, Yeah, it's always a bit annoying when it gets delayed, and I can't really see what it's running from either, because normally when these things are delayed by so long, it's because, we don't want to hit the World Cup season, or we don't want to be out at the same time as this other movie, and I'm trying to work out which one is sitting in UK cinemas at the moment. Yeah, but that'll be out in the States as well, isn't it? Isn't that around about a synchronised release? Or are we getting Godzilla early and that one late? I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's the kind of thing that, I'm going to choose between one or the other. It seems like you could, split it a bit. I don't even know if it would be the same audience that would go to it.
The question is it going to leak online before it comes out here or not?
Probably.
I've not checked anywhere, but it probably already has.
Yeah. 1080p copy, go for it. 4K copy, I don't know. Let's hope not. Not that I would ever indulge in such a thing. Of course.
Heaven forbid.
Yeah. Okay. That's rising against delayed releases with the example Brightburn. Good one. Fine. I'm going to rise against, this is connected to what we're talking about tonight, I'm going to rise against the Batwoman teaser. And I was just waiting for the collective gasp that didn't come there.
I held it in because I'm trying to be less dramatic and more serious.
Yeah. I actually don't think it looks that bad, although I do have some significant issues with it. I know that it's getting absolutely pelted online. It's people are criticising it for various reasons. I think that as a teaser, it doesn't really show you enough of what to expect, so you get to see next to no Batwoman in the teaser, in effect. I mean, I suppose it's a nice contrast to the Supergirl teaser that was 6 minutes long and essentially summarised the entire episode, the entire first episode, so that when you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, that does show you absolutely everything. Literally everything. Whereas this doesn't quite show you everything. But some issues I have with it. So, the new Charmed show, that's also on the CW, I have issues with it because it peddles a lot of man-hating feminism. And, I mean, I don't like any kind of ism that has to downplay any group of people to make itself kind of relevant. So in the case of Charmed, it's like, men suck, here's why. I'm just going to try and impress this guy that I've been trying to impress for the past 3 episodes. That's kind of the Charmed formula. But in this, you have this scene in the trailer where she discovers the Batman suit. So you get to see the Arrowverse version of Batman's costume, which is something. And some guy tells her the suit is literal perfection, and she says, it will be when it fits a woman. Which is... what? I mean, what are you trying to do here? So let's reverse that line. Look, there's the Batwoman costume. It's like, girls can't be superheroes. That's the reverse of that line, isn't it? And then there's another bit later on in the teaser where Batwoman is clearly becoming known amongst the people, and she says, I'm not gonna let a man take credit for a woman's work. And it's like, hold on a minute. You're dressing up in the same costume as Batman and employing his methods, and you're annoyed that people think you're Batman. I mean, what? What are you trying to tell me here? What? I mean, I'm not pro toxic masculinity. I'm not pro masculine stuff. I love this. I love the show that we're talking about tonight, and that's somehow managed 4 seasons without ever saying men suck. So why isn't Batwoman starting off on that foot, at least in the trailer?
I see where you're coming from and that perception of it. I don't think it was intended to be quite as anti-man as you've taken it.
No, I'm sure it's not intended that way, but the lines are clearly framed that way for the purposes of the trailer. They're supposed to inflame people, I guess. It's supposed to be punchy and making a point. But I feel like in the episode itself, it won't be quite so overt, but at the same time, it is still in there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go on to comment. And just with the whole thing about trailers basically being truncated versions of the first episodes. Yeah, and I do really hate when they do that.
Yeah.
And just to get in the obligatory dig, that's what they did with the Flash.
I think the Flash one was better than the Supergirl one, though. It didn't give you quite as much.
Oh, while watching the trailer, I kind of got the impression that it may have started out like that. And someone decided that, actually, no, let's not do that. Let's not tell everyone the entire first episode before they've seen it. And then they edited it down a bit more. It still seemed, while watching it, the events that the trailer was depicting were sequentially part of the same narrative.
Yeah.
And I would think that majority of the material shown in it, if not all of it, will be taken from the pilot episode.
Yeah, and I think, I'll watch the show because I watch all the shows in this universe. But yeah, it's not getting off on the right foot. I think it's sending the wrong message so far. A better version of the line would be, the suit is literal perfection, and she replies with, not yet. Or, it will be when it fits me, because that makes it about her and about what she wants to do, not about her gender.
Or she could have even said literal perfection, for a man. It makes the same point,
yeah.
but also acknowledges the fact that it's no good to her.
Yeah. So, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying. Some trailers sort of give away too much of the season. This one, I've only really watched it once. I've not properly dug into it. I don't know. I've talked on podcasts already about this show, and I don't know how good or bad or different it's going to be. This doesn't really give me any hint. Yes, I will watch it. Probably out of stuff that we've talked about before, where we end up watching these shows because we don't want to feel like we're missing something out or some in reference or some in bit. They've got us hooked, and they just seem to be adding more bits to this universe. So yeah, I don't know. It's not got me convinced. I'll need to watch it to find out.
Fair dues. Okay, so shall we move on to our featured topic?
Let's.
Yeah.
Swoosh.
So, let's immediately kick into the spoiler zone, just so we don't have to worry about that. Because we're just going to rocket through some stuff, as we did before with the others. Our tried and tested new formula seems to be working. Chris, I'm going to let you begin with a Neil.
A Neil. I'll go in for a...
It's like a big game of countdown, this. I'll take a Neil, please, Craig.
I'll take a Neil, please. One from the top and three from the bottom, please. I'll just go in for a big one right off, and so we can get off the board. I liked the slow build of Lex Luthor's plan this season. I like that it wasn't really discovered until the later half. Don't get me wrong, I think his plan relies on a lot of luck and coincidence, and that worked out well. I liked the reveal of Lex Luthor being the main villain this season. I think it's one of those ones that if you don't read too many of the articles going, such and such has been cast as so-and-so this season, then it acts as a nice surprise. I do feel that sometimes, like in my hunt for Kneel Befores and Rise Against, I get things spoiled for me. Because there's some stuff like casting news or whatever, you're like, oh, couldn't you just have said that he was an untitled character called Brian? But yeah, I kind of liked the reveal this season.
Then you get into he's not Blofeld. No, he's not Khan. Yes, I loved Lex. I actually think that John Cryer might be my favourite live-action Lex Luthor. He only appears 3 times, which is a good use of your Lex Luthor. He's not there all the time. And then when he's not there, after he's introduced, his presence is felt. Everything he does, or everything that happens, is in service of his plan in one way or another. And I really liked how they did that. I think my favourite episode of the season is the Lex-centric one, that details everything that he's done to get to this point, and also details his relationship with Red Daughter and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the fact that Ben Lockwood thought he was rising to prominence, but he was just another pawn in Lex's scheme. It was just one of those things, you would expect Lex Luthor to have a counter to everything that you can think of, and he does. And it's probably one of those things that's like, hang on, in order for that to happen, this person has to walk across the street at that exact time, and then, and it's like there's the intricacies of, he must be psychic in order to predict all this stuff happening, but it's just how good of a master manipulator he is. And I was kind of worried that, because on the CW you've got the tendency of everyone's so in touch with their feelings, You know, and they tried to do that. Well, I think they played on that nicely in Lexi's first episode, where he was trying to be, where it seemed like he was trying to relate to Lena and trying to, like, you know, trying to make up for, like, a lack of affection or whatever. And it turned out that was part of his plan too, because I was like, I don't really want a Lex in touch with his feelings sort of version. You know, we had that in Smallville to an extent. We don't need it again. And yeah, he's just this amoral. I mean, he isn't evil. He's just an amoral, self-interested genius who thinks he's above everyone else.
I liked his play off Lena, and it was that thing where you're like, don't heal him, it's a trick. It's blatantly going to be a trick. Don't fix this cure. If he's there, it's a plan, it's a trick. Don't fall for it, don't fall for it, don't fall for it. And she fell for it partly. And then you're like, oh, damn it.
But it's the way he takes everything from her. Like, it's like, you thought Eve was your friend. Newsflash, he's my minion. That kind of stuff, you know.
And that plays all the way up to the final episode as well. It's like, oh, you think you know everything, you think you're on top of the world, right? Okay, let me just shatter another illusion for you. Yeah. I've been saving this one up for some time, you know. Yeah, master manipulator, gets everyone into position. The reveal of his plan, like you say, that is like, oh yeah, I'm behind him, I'm behind that, I've been slowly stoking this in the background, I've been plotting this, I've run this company that's cropped up a couple of times before. Yeah, and also I kind of feel that they've earned him at this point. They've teased that, oh yeah, Lex is about, obviously, and that he's caused problems for Clark in the past and all this sort of stuff. I was like, are they going to pull Lex Luthor out? Because they keep playing Lena might be evil this season, or she might be turning evil. And they've not done it. And then you finally get Lex Luthor, and it's like, you've earned it at this point. Yeah,
and if you ever get the chance, listen to former Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum. He has a podcast called Inside of You. He calls it that so he can say to his guests, thank you for letting me be inside of you today. And it's never not funny, let's be honest. But he has John Cryer on one episode, and he does talk about the way they've kind of made his arc out over the course of 3 episodes, because he was only cast for 3 episodes for whatever reason. But that was perfect, because otherwise you just have Lex Luthor turning up at the end of every episode, just being like, ha ha ha, I was behind this all along. But like, everybody knew he was behind everything. They were just trying to figure out how to stop him and how he was involved, and they just couldn't, because he was operating on just another level to everybody else, because he's just so genius level. I mean, let's face it, Kara, kind of dumb. There's no way she's outthinking Lex Luthor. There, I said it. But in comparison to Lex, she's quite the simpleton. I mean, in comparison to Lex, everyone's quite the simpleton. Well, I suppose you have this problem when you... So, obviously, they're writing these genius level, this evil genius character, but the writers themselves, as far as we know, aren't evil geniuses. So you have to come up with this genius level plan within the framework of their own show that works without actually knowing what a genius would actually do, because they can't think on the level that their characters are thinking on.
There is a bit where it's like, these characters become unstoppable, because it's like, okay, he's been put in prison, so... How at that point is he able to manipulate an entire world from what is meant to be a prison cell? Oh, he's got a secret door, and in there he can go to wherever he wants. And like, has no one noticed the secret door before, or the fact that there's this room attached to the cell that just doesn't seem to be there on plans? It's all that sort of stuff. I suppose. No one cares, or whoever does care gets paid off or gets killed at some point, Yeah. But it's like, how does all that get established in the first place? I always find those bits quite funny. It's like, oh, we had this secret network set up the whole time. And you're like, well, that can't have been there already. Or did he plan that as well? If I do go to prison, I'm going to be in this exact cell. Possibly, being Lex. But yeah, I always find that quite funny.
Yeah. Andrew, what do you think of Lex?
Right.
Whoa, here we go.
Yeah, I'm kind of completely opposite of you two, actually. I really, really did not like him at all. Yeah, I thought it was a good idea to have for the relation of him being behind everything, and all of the events were part of his big master plan. Though I I really hated the interpretation of him as a character. It's not specific to Supergirl or this, but a particular type of character I really dislike is a character who, in one way or another, is smarter than everybody else, but also has this need to make sure that everybody else knows it. To explain over and over how beneath them everybody is intellectually, and they can never match up, and that they're fools for even thinking that they could. And I find those kind of speeches just so tedious and so irritating. And as soon as they start, I just can't wait for them to be over. Also, while Chris was mentioning this about him manipulating the world from a jail cell, because I having a secret exit, because why? Like, because he's a genius and because he's rich, therefore he can do literally anything. And I think having that as a narrative fallback to justify a character's capabilities is really, really lazy, because it means that you never need to actually explain it. You just need to point out that because they're rich, because they're genius, and they can plan for anything, and they can pay for anything. This makes them virtually omnipotent, and anything justified by that, I find really unsatisfying and just more than a bit of a cop out. Well, one particular aspect of him that I did quite like was acknowledging how everything he does is blinded by his hatred of Superman. So his master plan here was to effectively create a sort of infinite renewable energy that could power the entire world. Yes, and he uses this to create a giant space laser. And it reminded me of quite a famous line from All-Star Superman, when Lex temporarily gains superpowers, and as a result of that, his intellect is heightened even more, because he can understand the fundamentals of the universe. That he needs these injections of the thing to maintain this, which Superman manages to get away from him. And he's screaming, "Give it to me! If I have that, I can save the world." To which Superman replies, "You could have saved the world years ago if it mattered to you." It's the same kind of situation here, where he's come up with a way to effectively save the planet, and all he can think to do with it is to destroy. It's a perfect encapsulation of his character. It wasn't dwelled too much upon, and we're just left with more of the stuff that annoyed me.
Yes, I can see where you're coming from, although all that stuff, it's your standard Lex Luthor setup. It's the infinite resources, the infinite influence, all that kind of stuff. But it works for me because Lex in this show isn't really a character. He's kind of a catalyst for events, and he's just kind of... I thought John Cryer played him really well, but Lena is our character. It's all about her. It's all about how she deals with it. So Lex is her problem, essentially, rather than being a character in his own right. And I think they made that clear from the outset, and they did it really well. At least for me. My
issue, when you look back, it's the same as most villains. It's when you go, what was the end game? If their whole scenario was allowed to be played out in full, what was the actual plan? So, okay, he's used the aliens for energy, he's blown up Argo, he's killed Supergirl, what then? It was going to be a world of renewable energy because the aliens were going to keep travelling to Earth knowing that they're going to be used as batteries.
Well, he puts himself in the White House, basically. So he essentially rules the world at this point, doesn't he? Because he faked that invasion, got seen as a hero, he's blowing up Argo. Yeah, he's got...
Well, he rules America at that point.
Which, therefore, the world, let's face it. That's what the Kaznian invasion's all about, It's to It's
to put him in a good light, and he's done a deed so good that all past sins, which you can imagine amount to a lot, past sins are now completely underwritten. This misunderstood character, and I think there was a throwaway thing about someone stepped forward who says that they did it all along and it was never him anyway, so he's pardoned. Which I quite liked, is the throwaway. Oh yeah, that's how we get around this one just now. Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see where you're coming from, Andrew. I do think that it's not the worst Lex Luthor plan that we've seen on screen, which I think makes it quite good considering some of the villains that we've had in the past. considering some of the Lexes we've had in the past, considering some of the Arrowverse villains that we've had in the past with plans that are worse, I think Lex Luthor is not too bad. The only bit that I'm kind of peeved about is the ending of like having him half revived or transported or whatever the Monitor has now done with him at the end of this. Oh right, okay, I will leave it at that point then. Yeah. Ooh.
That's next season chat. This potentially. So, okay, Andrew, I know you've just went and like savaged Lex Luthor, so he's going to have you killed. I hope you know this.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for speaking the truth. Or
he'll turn you into like a Metallo, which would probably do you a favour, actually, if you come to think of it.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, it'd probably cure my back problems.
Okay, so Lex, if you're listening, Andrew's ready for his Kryptonite robot body. Yeah. So, even though you've complained about Lex Luthor quite vigorously, give us a rise.
I am rising against how underused the character of Red Daughter was. When she first appeared at the end of Season 3 as somebody who looks exactly like Kara but in some nebulously communist environment, then it was clear that at some point they were going to be doing a variation on Red Sun, which, if you're unaware, was kind of a what-if story where Superman was raised in Russia and instead fought for communist ideals. Instead of the whole truth, justice, and the American way thing. And I think that there was the potential for her to be quite an interesting character, because she is effectively a mirror of Kara, and we see how she turns out when she's brought up and taught nothing but hate and contempt rather than love and compassion. But I think the potential for the contrast between them was really overlooked and skimmed over far too quickly. And all ended in a big rush that didn't really have as much significance as I would have liked it to.
Yeah, she comes into it kind of too late. I mean, they had that whole episode that was about her upbringing that connected her to Lex, which was really good. And I think that the little bits and pieces they did with her, because it's so easy to just have, oh yeah, it's just evil Kara, but her perspective was really interesting. So how she saw the United States as like this land of decadence, where a bunch of, where people are just living in this luxury without caring about the rest of the world, and the fact that she sees Kara as embodying those ideals and that being wrong. That's really interesting. And it's a debate that they should have had and didn't. Because Kara questioning her entire moral framework could have been fascinating at the end of the season. But they didn't really do it. She was just... It's also the things that make them the same, so their sense of loyalty is the same. The skewed way she sees the world is kind of along the same lines. I mean, it's skewed, of course, but it's along the same lines, and other stuff like that. So there was a lot more potential there, and I think Melissa Benoist did a fantastic job playing both roles.
I totally agree with that. It didn't really feel like two versions of one character. Like they felt like two separate people.
Are they going to do True Brit next season?
That'd be fun.
For those that don't know, it's John Cleese, I think, wrote it. Am I right?
I think so.
Yeah. Basically, what if Superman landed in Britain, but it's a comedy? Supergirl, True Brit next season. Come on. That's what I want.
And just hearing Melissa Benoist doing an English accent.
Yep. Here for it.
Totally.
Let's do it. Supergirl producers, we know you're listening. Do it. Even just for an episode. Just give us a meta universe hopping episode where Supergirl lives in Britain. Why not?
On the Red Daughter storyline, I kind of feel you're right. It wasn't used as fully as they could have. It was one of those things that they would do every few episodes or so. They would do a little flash of, meanwhile over here, she's taking out a fighter jet, and then they would cut back. And I think the reason that they weren't able to do it fully was because they were keeping the Lex reveal and the story reveal sort of contained for later in the season, and they were like, oh yeah, we've got to kind of tease that we're still doing this.
Do you think their plans changed at some point?
I kind of have the feeling that they did, that they maybe had like this slow build story running through the whole thing, and instead of that happening, they ended up Yeah, they ended up sort of doing, we're going to do it as like a flashback episode where we're just going to keep going back and forward to the to her upbringing and how they managed to corrupt her and twist, because you kind of saw in that episode sort of things that you were like, I would have rather seen this like slow build through the whole thing, or even more from her perspective maybe, rather than seeing it from like the Lex perspective of him having to visit and plot and scheme. And then maybe for the reveal to be actually he's the reason these events happened that way. You know, the fact that they saw that, actually she's got compassion and things there, we're going to need to make sure that she doesn't have any of that. We're going to sacrifice the boy that she's been caring for all this time.
Although I liked the fix to the Martha problem. You know, when she first appears and Lex turns up to see her, and she's like, because the one word she knows how to say when she's born is Alex. Yeah. And then she sees Lex, and he's like, "Why not?"
Yes.
And that's like the whole basis for him being trusted by her. And it's like, yeah, there's your Martha like line drop, but in a way that actually works.
Yeah. Do you know what? I kind of like that. It was like the writers must have just sat there going, Alex. Lex. Okay, we've got it, everyone. We've sorted it. It's. I kind of feel it could have been slowly built more. I think the reason that it probably wasn't in the end was maybe a decision that they were going to hold more back until the Lex reveal. I don't know. It could have been more, but maybe it would have destroyed the surprise bit with Lex and stuff. But I think seeing more from her perspective would have been better, and you would have understood her more. So yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. She was underutilised. Yeah,
I mean, I think the work that they did with her was really strong. It's just there wasn't enough of it. And also, how does she have the power to turn it into nighttime?
Yeah,
couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, that really bugged me.
Alright, the whole world has been moved on a time zone. I don't know, like, what has she just done here? Although I quite like the expansion of her powers. And then you had the counter where Kara managed to heal herself by like extracting sunlight from the grass and stuff.
That peeved me off.
I mean, as hokey as that is, but it's like, my powers are way stronger than yours. It's like, well, actually, I've got this passive, peaceful power that's stronger than yours.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, like, okay, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but to hell with it, I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you're watching these shows, you've got to suspend disbelief in the first place. And it's like, okay, I suppose I can take it a little bit further. But, yeah.
I mean, they've not done the memory erasing kiss yet. That'll happen. So what am I doing? I'm going to give myself a kneel. And I am going to kneel before kind of a small one. I'm going to kneel before factory settings Brainy.
Okay, yeah.
When he was restored to factory settings, I thought Jesse McGrath's performance was superb. It's that kind of the more cold, stoic version of Brainy. I mean, I thought Jesse McGrath... it's Jesse Rath, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought his performance as Brainy throughout was great. I think the way he talks is hilarious. I mean, when he revealed himself to be whatever his hacker handle was, Alien Lover or whatever it was, I can't remember, he had that really deep and meaningful conversation with Kara, but he was still putting on his kind of stupid voice, so it didn't really work. But most of the time, it works really well. And seeing how different it was when he, when they flipped it on-off switch and turned him back to beginning, and then where he talked about, I come from a long line of like horrible alien computer things, and I don't want to go back to that, and just how he's a lot colder when it comes to the way he conducted himself after that point was really good. Throwing a bit of props to Sam Witwer for his performance as Brainy in that one scene. That was superb.
Oh, I loved it. He had the mannerisms down. I don't know if they got Jesse to act it first and then got him to copy, or if they had just been working together for long enough that he was able just to throw into it.
Usually in these like body switch scenes, they get the actor to do it first, as they would in character, and then they get the copycat effectively to do it as well. But the fact is, like, Sam Witwer just nailed it, completely nailed it, and he did. It was just such a funny scene. Just even the way when he was standing with a wide stance and everything, just the way Brainy does, brilliant.
It's things like that that remind you that the acting is it's not just about speaking lines. It's also about the way that characters move.
Yeah,
and the way that they hold themselves, because it's all part of their personality.
It's also a reminder that Sam Witwer is like the real deal when it comes to acting. I mean, I've never not been impressed by the guy. He's the definitive Darth Maul.
That is true.
Yeah. In that one scene in Solo. Also, several episodes of the Clone Wars and Rebels.
And that one scene.
That one scene.
That one scene.
Like, what was that about?
That one scene that confused 50% of the audience.
It's like, wait, what? Like, wasn't he cut in half and dropped to the bottom of the lift?
I think you'll find it confused 100% of the audience. Because 50% were like, he's dead. And the other 50% were like,
yeah, he's dead.
Well, the other 50% was, how does this lead up to Rebels?
What's he doing there now?
Yeah. For further commentary on this, listen to the Solo podcast that we did a while ago. So Brainy, factory settings Brainy in general. I liked Brainy. He's an acquired taste. I was kind of disappointed that he did the image inducer throughout the season, though. I preferred the kind of blue face stuff, but I see why they did it, because it's a lot of makeup.
Yeah, I see exactly why they did it. It would have been like a makeup and a comfort thing, and they're sitting there going, do you know what, we can write a bit of hand wavium around this and put image inducers and stuff in.
Yeah.
But I think his performance was really good throughout. I liked the default. I like the fact that they set up the whole when there's something I don't like or something I don't want to process, I can just put it in a box and store it away at the back of my head. Yeah. Lots of little boxes, and put it into a big box, and it all goes to the back. I kind of like that they set that up as his coping mechanism. I can't remember what episode. It was a good few episodes before, though, that they sort of dropped that one in, so it kind of made sense when you then saw him.
And it was Lena that gave him that
breaking
advice.
Through. Mm.
And then Nia was like, that's not healthy. So, yeah. So Brainy. We like Brainy. Yeah. Sam Witwer. We like Sam Witwer. So there we go. So that is our first round of thingies done. First round of thingies. I'm such a professional.
Rises.
First round of thingies. Yeah.
Meals
let's
and
go with
rises.
thingies. Yeah. Let's go with thingies.
It was sandwiches in the other podcast, so thingies in this podcast makes sense. Yeah.
It's a trade up. Yes. Chris, be negative.
Be negative. I am going to rise against power levels and power creep, which isn't just a problem in Supergirl, it's a problem throughout.
Power creep sounds like a bad 80s supervillain.
A power creep sounds like a rubbish villain. In fact, power creep is probably appearing in the next season of The Flash. Sorry, Flash, you're just there for kicking.
It's kicked at this podcast.
Sorry, yeah, it was a matter of time.
We should have the mandatory segment where we just criticise The Flash in every podcast.
Just mark the time in the clock so that everyone knows that was the moment. Right, so power creep and power levels. I kind of feel that, and this is a problem with Superman overall, it's a problem with Supergirl overall, it's a problem with Flash overall, is that you've got to have this ever-ongoing escalation of power levels between villains and the heroes in order for the show to work. And I feel that Supergirl just struggles with that so much. Like, I've noticed that there's been a dialing back of use of, like, super speed, for example, on the show, to the extent where I don't think Supergirl's really used it this season. However, we did see Agent Liberty use it in the final episode to disarm, like, a room full of people with guns. So I was like... So my main thing is, it's like, they've not really found clever ways of doing it. It's always really, really clumsy. And I think it's kind of a problem because it means that you've got this ever-going escalation of powers and people having to have powers to then be a threat at all to Kara.
At least they don't have her lose her powers every other episode.
That's true. I mean, it's not like there's the ongoing, kryptonite distribution system where every room she walks into is laced with kryptonite.
But she's kind of immune to that now, a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's a problem in all these shows except Arrow, because they don't have any powers, pretty much, in Arrow. But yeah, the Flash, which we've already kicked, he should be unstoppable by this point. Supergirl, they've always had her powers kind of dialed back. She has used speed a couple of times, although I don't think she's used it in fights. After she gets that bullet taken out of her by Jean, she runs off and speeds off there. She did do some cape tricks with her jacket this season. I thought they'd forgotten about cape tricks, so I was glad to see that return. What else? Yeah, she uses heat vision a lot. She hits people a lot. She flies a lot. I think they're probably more consistent with their powers in this show than they are in other shows. But yeah, giving everyone powers is kind of annoying. I mean, did we really need Jimmy to have powers? We knew it was going to happen. Oh, sorry, James. I'll call him James. Yeah, do we really need James to have powers? I mean, he's already insanely competent at everything he does, apparently. So why do we need this?
And now he's lining up to be a pirate captain. So it's God
he's
knows.
Going to be or Nick Fury cosplay.
But it just seemed to be we need to give the villains powers for an injection. Now Jimmy's got powers, and we've got. It's okay, this is just getting a bit much.
Lex having powers made almost no difference as well because he still put on his super suit.
Yeah, that part of the plan just seemed a bit fibby. It was he healed himself. The benefit was he had powers, but then he still did the suit and still wasn't 100% a match. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to retread that ground. There were parts, like I said, there were parts of the plan that didn't quite make as much sense. There was also a bit where I was like, well, if you've got enough of that serum, then distribute it around some of your friends and you're sorted, But, okay.
Yeah. Andrew, quick thoughts on powers and use of powers?
It's a constant ongoing issue with superhero shows. I think the issue is primarily that because characters can like maximum level of power isn't ever clearly established from the outset. Then so it generally seems to be that they are, however, as powerful as the plot requires them to be at any particular given moment, or if they need to be just not powerful enough at a moment for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always going to be a problem, and I don't ever think it's something that's going to go away.
No, and like I said, it's not just a Supergirl problem. It's one of those things that when I was watching it, in particular the last few episodes with healing from the light stored in leaves, that sort of made me think, do you know what, this is a bit of hand-wavium that they've put in here that is going to come back to one of those, and why didn't the leaves heal her this time, in a season's time, when we're sitting there and they're trying to come up with a solution to repower Kara. So...
Yeah, so it'd be something like it only works when she's near death.
Yeah, only works when she's near death, and it's things like flash time and Flash and all that sort of stuff. It's this would be convenient to use pretty much all the time. At least write in a reason why you can't. Yeah. But if you just leave it blank and you just pull it out whenever you want, then it reduces stakes in shows, and that's something that I don't like. I like there to be credible stakes. Otherwise, I don't really feel invested in it because, you think, well, no one's at risk ever. The title character of the show is, plot protected, wearing heavy plot armor. I do understand that, but at the same time, you still want there to feel like there's stakes.
How do you like your steak? Credible, thanks. Andrew, do you want to give us a kneel?
I do. One of the things that I'm kneeling before might seem a little hypocritical given my early comments, but as I really liked the reveal of Eve as a villain, because quite often in shows like this, if there was like a person or an object which is going to become integral to the development of the plot in some way, then the introduction is usually around about 17 minutes prior to the big reveal of the significance. Whereas Eve was introduced at the start of season 2, and she's been around around like for all that time, just in the background of everything. So she's a character that like the other people they're aware of her, but they didn't really pay much attention to her, and weren't concerned with what she might be doing or anybody she might be telling things to. Yeah, which as it turns out was a glaring oversight. That kind of early introduction for a character who you have much bigger plans for down the road is like an absolutely superb way of doing it. It's also kind of interesting for me as well, because at the moment I'm rewatching my way through the entirety of Smallville, and I'm to season 8 at the moment, which sees the introduction of Tess Mercer, who's a character who's like half Eve Tessmacher and half Mercy Graves.
And a bit of Lena. Spoilers.
Yeah. I already saw that on a Wikipedia or a cast list somewhere. But yeah, what's just interesting. Like seeing what's effectively two different versions of the same character, and also incidentally also having Sam Witwer there as well,
of course,
as Doomsday, as part of the love story, which was just weird. Sorry, I'm getting off track.
So you liked Eve as a villain, is what you're getting?
Yeah. I liked Eve as a villain, and yes, and I like the fact that she was introduced so far prior to the reveal of her as a villain.
Yeah. Now, you said about they had big plans for her. I don't think they did. I think she was just introduced as a background recurring character, and then they decided, probably this season, that it would make sense for her to be working with Lex. I mean, it just so happens she has the name of one of his hench people, so that works. Because the genius thing didn't come until the end of last season. You know, the fact that she's really smart. So, and they kind of framed something around that where she acts ditzy because she's very good looking. So she thinks that people will be threatened by her intelligence, so she pretends she doesn't have any. I quite like that. I mean, they didn't do too much with it, but yeah, having her as a villain, I think the actor, whatever her name is, did a really good job as well. Andrea Brooks, that's it.
Yeah.
She did a really good job of doing that, flipping on a dime to being evil, and then when she was playing the weird clone of herself where she was dumb again, that was quite good. Yeah, it was a good reveal. It really worked, and it really hit Lena in the feels because that was a friend. You know, she doesn't have too many of them, and she allowed herself to trust this person, and it blew up in her face.
Yeah, I think that's what made the reveal work really well, actually, is it's like someone that she wouldn't expect, someone that she had been working really closely with, someone that she had probably shared plenty secrets and chat with, and then suddenly it turns out, oh, no, I was just working with you because that's what Lex told me to do. I've been planted for a long, long time as the most elongated sleeper agent ever.
Yeah.
You know, even more than we thought she was in the first place. But yeah, it was. I kind of liked that. I thought it was a good reveal. I kind of agree with you, Craig, that I don't think they had been planning this from way, way, way out. But I think when they did come to the decision, they've played it really, really well.
Yeah, the fact that it fits is remarkable in itself. I suppose it fits so well because you know so little about her anyway. It's not as if she was on Team Supergirl, one of their most trusted DEO agents, and suddenly turning on them. She's just the background secretary, and then the background Lena's assistant. So it is easy to just manoeuvre her in different places.
Yeah, but it's one of those that she has been in enough that she's recognisable, and it's not that they picked a random that appeared in an episode before and then goes, oh, and by the way, Brian turns out to be a double agent. You go, who the hell was Brian? Oh yeah, he handed over some paper in the other episode, yeah.
Oh, you mean like those DEO agents that all knew Kara's identity and were massively at risk and had to have their memories wiped? It's like, who are these people? I've never seen them before.
Why should we care?
Yeah. Also, doesn't everybody in the DEO know who she is because she's in there in her civvies writing articles and stuff sometimes? She's always coming in, speaking to Alex and flying off. And I mean, I was under the impression that everybody knew. But never mind. Whatever. Not that I'm bitter about it or not. Strangely, that's not my rise against. That was a little stealth one that I just snuck in because it fit. I'm actually just going to rise against journalism. Not the concept, the concept as they depict it in this show.
If you rise against journalism, it is going to take you down, Craig.
Well, I mean, considering what I do is a form of journalism, so yeah, I'm kind of rising against myself here. Which, yeah, screw me. What an idiot I am. No, the way they depict it in this show, specifically through Kara, because, well, it kind of sprung up on me in the last episode where she manages to cure racism with a well-written article that, by the way, pings onto everyone's phones whether they want it or not. What about the people that ticked, do not show me notifications from Catco Worldwide Media? That's, you know, sounds like Catco isn't GDPR compliant.
Let's not go there, please.
Yeah, let's really not go there. But, yeah, what even is that? No, we all know what that is, and it's very important, and it safeguards our data and all that stuff. But anyway, so there was a few examples of journalism used very, very poorly throughout the show, throughout the season. There was that, I think we talked about it in the mid-season one, the episode where she interviews some guy, some alien healer guy. And it turns out he's got a bit of a checkered past, as in he has an illegitimate child and all this kind of stuff. And like, when it comes to light that that's what happened, she finds out a lot about it in like a 10-second Google search. I mean, I've done enough interviews to know that if I'm interviewing someone, I'm going to do that 10-second Google search just to find out who they are, what they're about, what they've done, what questions I might want to ask them. The fact that she doesn't do that means that she's really crap at her job. Later on in the season, you've got this whole thing about, and I actually kind of liked this. You had that Lexi's cellmate guy who wouldn't talk to Supergirl because he hates her. Fine, but would talk to Kara. But it's this, oh my god, you're the Kara Danvers, that person that wrote that article we all liked. It's like, what evidence have we seen of her being any good at her job as a journalist?
Yeah,
and now we're
like what evidence have we seen of her actually doing her job as a journalist?
And it's like, she's famous. Like, prisoners know her by name because of what she's written. Like, what? I mean, that's all I can say is, what? Where is this coming from? It's the tendency of this show to be like, alright, this is important now. This is an element that's tied to this character. You just have to accept it because we're telling you. But say what you want about the New Adventures of Superman. That was about Clark Kent as a journalist as much as it was Clark Kent as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every episode was about, we're chasing a story, it's going to be life-threatening, and I'm going to have to turn into Superman, and then Lois isn't really going to realise the truth. You know, that's your formula. But in this, it's like Catco comes and goes, mostly goes, because they have no idea what to do with it. I mean, they boosted it a little bit because of Nia, and I thought she was going to shoulder all the journalism stuff until she had a superhero arc over like 5 minutes or so. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I've got these powers. Oh look, now I'm fully competent with these powers. So that was easy. That was quick. But the journalism, just it's bad. And that article that cures racism at the end, it's like, okay, yeah, I can see that people might see the facts and see that Lex Luthor lied to them. That's fine. But there's also going to be people that disagree with it. There's also going to be people like Kara Danvers, not her again, and stuff. You know, like one good story can change the world. That's the kind of pie in the sky thinking they're going for, but it's really bad because that's not how it works at all.
It seems like a bit of a cheat that the writers got to at the end and went, oh, we kind of need all this turmoil that we've created to be over by the next season because we're not wanting to write that this is still going on. Yeah, a quick article, and then new president is going to put back in all the rights and responsibilities, and everyone's going to be totally okay with it. There's going to be no ramifications whatsoever because everyone's read the article and agrees. Okay, the end. And it's like, yeah, we can move on. We can move on next season with a clean slate. We've tidied all this up.
Did anyone else think that Cat Grant was going to turn out to be the president at the end of the season?
I was hoping, but I wasn't holding out for it though.
Yeah.
I didn't think she was going to turn up and be the president, but I thought, because she was in a kind of advisory role, wasn't she? Or she wasn't the press secretary, was she? I'm trying to remember what she was. under the previous...
I think that's what she was, actually.
Was she the press secretary?
Yeah.
Right. So she was the press secretary under the previous president, so she would have been replaced when they went out. So I don't know. She might crop up again. I think she's definitely going to crop up at some point in the next season, you would
Mrs.
think.
Harrison Ford doesn't have to show up unless Mrs. Harrison Ford wants to show up. That's pretty much the reason that you don't see her anymore.
I imagine so. But, I think Cat Grant's always a good character to drop in, and, if they can negotiate it, then it would be good. But, yeah, I totally agree with you. They seem to do it with the journalism characters on these shows quite a lot. I don't know if there's someone in the writer's room of these programmes that are particularly fans of, journalism will solve it all story arcs, because you see it in The Flash, you see it in this, you see it in others where there'll be an article that'll be, now that everyone's read that, everyone's totally fine with it. Taking apart an entire season of hate speech that's been passed around, is that one article. If that article had come out weeks ago,
a year ago, we wouldn't be in this mess.
I think there was the interesting twist where it was like, I can't go out as Supergirl because everyone hates me, but I can still go out as Kara, and I can still try and do what I can through my day job. And
well, that worked well enough, yeah.
Which they did. They didn't really go for it fully because they didn't have enough time to, but yeah, they did try it at least.
It was just another excuse for further hijinks involving Lena and Kara, cutting about, where Kara was trying not to reveal her powers but also save their lives. Which is, fun in itself, and Lena trying to pretend to be Lena is the confident one as Kara pretends to be terrified and stuff. That was why they did that. It wasn't to do with this booster journalism side of things.
While Kara must have missed those high-def cameras that were following her using tracking shots and all sorts, because that won't know CCTV footage. Lex had an entire crew in there.
I was wondering why that makeup artist was in there. Yeah, that's it. My rise against is journalism as depicted in this show. Yeah. Andrew, do you agree?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I think it might just be partly a certain degree of wish fulfillment on part of the writers. Just trying to imagining a scenario in which writing can save the world. Yes, like where in actuality nobody gives a crap about writers.
Well, that's a depressing thought.
Really, a long time pays attention to who the writer is. If it's like either Joss Whedon or Aaron Sorkin, and otherwise they're not interested.
Yeah, Supergirl exists in a world where people still buy magazines en masse. Which, alternate reality, I suppose. But they still have the internet, so I don't understand how that works. Yeah.
Again, wish fulfillment.
Yes, indeed. Okay, Chris, I want you to give us you've given us one of each, so let's do a kneel, because I rose against something.
A kneel. I am going to kneel before an episode that I think I talked about in the mid-season, Man of Steel, the episode Man of Steel, which sort of goes through the origins of Ben Lockwood and the reason that he comes to the opinion that he has. It turns out that he's been involved in too many superhero fights over his time. I really like the episode as sort of an origins of a villain or a villainy character. It kind of makes you understand his point of view, or at least why he has come to the opinion that he has. I quite liked that episode. It was like it took a break from the norm and sort of showed us his side.
It was a little bit abrupt, though, wasn't it? In terms of I don't mind aliens. I hate aliens. It was very quick. I think Ben Lockwood was a good character in general throughout the season. And I think towards the end, when he just became more unhinged, made him a bit more unpredictable as well. But I also like whenever he was involved in a debate with someone or whatever else. I mean, the stuff that he's saying is pretty horrible, but damn, is he good at it. It's people listen. You can see why people listen to him. because he does have that charisma, and his arguments are well formed and well thought out. So it's like that TV debate he engages in with Kara. He demolishes her because she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just going by in a few empty sort of platitudes about everyone should love one another and everyone should be equal, and she can't really qualify it in any way, whereas he's like, well, here's examples of when that's not worked. And whether you agree with him or not, you have to point out that he makes his points quite well, which is kind of disappointing when he just becomes another strong villain by the end.
Yeah, I think seeing him slowly breaking down, the situation getting worse, and that causing him to be unhinged.
His son turning against him, and
yeah, the loss of his wife, son turning against him, the fact that he suddenly realises that his rise to power wasn't actually his rise to power, as well. Like along the way, you can see him going, "Oh, I was in prison and I've been taken out of prison, and now I'm working for the government. I've been put in this position, and all these fans, these followers that I got naturally because of me." And then it turns out, oh no, actually someone's been pulling strings behind to make sure that you got the audience that they wanted you to get. They've put you where you are. You didn't earn it yourself. That kind of thing. I think explains him being unhinged. I do think that towards the end of the season, he had kind of outlived his usefulness. Like, I don't really think there was much of a reason for him to turn up in the finale. It was like he could have been
been defeated by that point.
At that point, he had been defeated. He could have just been arrested on the street somewhere. It did not need to, have his medication run. His super serum or whatever it was run out, and then he just gets caught by a policeman and arrested. That it could have been as simple as that by the end.
Well, it's funny, his hair falling out, yet none of his hair fell out.
That's true. I was expecting him to be bald by the end of it. But it just seemed to be a couple of tufts and then it all grew back. I don't know.
Yeah. Having him share a scene with Lex might have been quite good, though. Yeah, that would have been something, but you don't really get that. There's only so much John Cryer to go around, I suppose. Lockwood was good.
He was a decent character, and they certainly used him well for the parts of the show that they had a purpose for him, and the effort that they made to make you understand why he believes the things that he does, how his alien-hating views became more and more extreme over time,
and more accepted, of course.
Yes, I think with a character like that, and the purpose of them is to provide a vocalization of what you want a lot of the background people to actually be thinking, but don't have the space to properly portray it. Yeah. So with him espousing beliefs that a lot of people agree with, then that quite efficiently shows the kind of environment that's being created in the country.
Yeah,
I do agree. Like he did seem a little bit redundant towards the end of the series, when it became more about what Lex's ultimate plan was. And I would have liked a bit more personal reflection on what is essentially his own complacent arrogance in his worth, not actually questioning his meteoric rise to power and influence, and believing it was all done on his own merits, presumably because he has that much belief in himself. I would have liked to have seen something that actually acknowledged that. Overall, it was a decent character and good for what he had a purpose, but I don't think we'll be seeing much more of him.
No, probably not. Which is a shame. I like Sam Witwer, so yeah, but he's outlived it. So yeah. Okay, so Andrew, do you want to give us a rise?
We can be rise against it. Just how lengthy and drawn out
this podcast is.
The whole aliens coming to Earth as a metaphor for racism thing was. It just went on and on and on, and I get that it is an important thing to address, but it never really developed very much. There's just the issue of there's a lot of anti-alien sentiment in the world. A lot of people are hostile towards aliens because they're aliens, and as what was supposed to be a plotline, that was pretty much all there was to it. And all that it was useful was how it affected characters. But without there being much development of the concept itself.
Yeah, it did go on a bit. They did some good stuff in there, though. I mean, she got to fight a dragon. That was something fun. It wasn't a dragon, it was an alien that looks like a dragon. But, you know, it's a dragon.
Still a dragon.
It's a fire-breathing flying lizard. If it talks like a duck, looks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Or a dragon.
Or a dragon. Yeah, it's a duck dragon, which is weird. Yeah, there was some stuff. I think the looks so revealing that Nia was like second generation alien, so her mother was an alien, which makes her kind of part alien. That was a bit of a weird, out of left field of reveal. That interview she did was really good though. You know, where she was like, "I'm a Gryffindor," or whatever house that she chose. I think it was Gryffindor, wasn't it? Doesn't matter. Sorry, Harry Potter fans, I've forgotten. But she basically was like, "Yeah, look at me, I'm like human, a giant dork, and I kind of look like that girl that works here." But yeah,
in fact, I'm accidentally wearing my staff ID badge. Yeah.
It's kind of what I got onto before. It was the racism was solved by the right article from Kara, so it didn't amount to anything. It was just a background thing. I mean, it was quite a good background thing, but it didn't amount to much in the end, did it? I've got nothing else to say on that, really.
Yeah, it didn't. I see what they were trying to achieve, and they were sort of tying it in with like the immigration debates that are going on and all that sort of stuff. The problem is if you're going to try and tackle that, and then you're wanting it to disappear by your next season, you've got to come up with a solution to racism or the immigration problem. Which, if it was as easy as they write it, it would all be solved by now. There's no like easy way they can do it, because so all they end up writing in the script is, and then everyone comes to an epiphany and it's solved.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like, hang on, no, you've introduced this real world thing to make it feel more real. You can't just now go, oh, actually, we're going to take this out because it's going to be really, really awkward if we have to continue with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Who knows what they'll do next season with it, if anything. What the problem will be then. We shall see. Moving swiftly on, I'm going to kneel before Lena's ruthlessness. I just think the way that they handled Lena this season was absolutely brilliant. Probably the best they've done with her. I mean, having her up against her better in Lex was a great move for her. So the way she was constantly trying to catch up to him, trying to outwit him. And I like that she was like, I want Lex to know that I beat him. She had to have that. And it's like a failing on her part, because that's like pride and vanity and so on. The way she handles her mother by like throwing that truth alien at her and then poisoning her tea as well was brilliant. Just the you didn't really poison my tea, did you? It's like, I would drink that antidote. Really probably should drink that antidote within the next 5 or so minutes, just in case.
It's like, why don't you understand that I hate you?
Yeah. I just thought she was really great throughout. Her views on like powering up humans while not being popular opinions among her friends, it makes sense as to why that is. Them getting rid of her relationship with James was a good move, because it was boring, just like almost everything that James does.
Yep.
Yeah. She was great, and I loved her last scene with Lex, where Lex was like, "You won't kill me," and then she just shoots him twice without hesitation. It's like, yeah, that's it. That's the culmination of what we've been building up to here. And then Lex is like, oh, by the way, here's all this professional studio level footage of Kara being Supergirl that I took.
Before I drift into the night, please let me just hit this button for the auto destruct so I take you with me. Yeah. Oh, no, hang on. I'm just going to let you see this video footage.
Yeah. And it was it's also the ambiguity of where she's going to go next as well. So she turns up whining crappy game night, and she's like acting like normal, but then she sort of slams the photograph of her, Kara and Alex. So I don't think she's going to turn into a villain, but I think she's going to have some kind of issue with Kara, because she had issues with Supergirl, and I really liked it when Kara as Supergirl apologised to her for being wrong about certain things. That was a really good scene. Again, it just strengthens Lena and the way she thinks and the way she operates. I think she's probably the best character in the show, let's be honest.
I really agree. I really like her as a character. And every time that she's on screen, then you know that it's going to be something interesting. Whereas if it's something that she does, something that she's going to be doing, or something she's going to be saying, or something she's figured out, or some information she's uncovered, she immediately makes any moment more worth watching. I hope that they're not going to turn her into a villain next season.
I don't think they will. She's a good person.
Partly because it'd be really boring, and partly because her whole character arc is basically defined by her not being defined by her family.
Yeah,
and I just like to slide it into the same kind of arrogant, dismissive behaviour. It would just seem a waste.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I think they've done so much development with her that it would be a shame for them just to push her down the villain arc after all, because then it would just add fuel to the fire of people that have been going, this has been coming all the time, we always knew it was going to end up this way. I do kind of feel that, I don't know if that trip to play games at John's was like her giving them the final chance to tell the truth at this point. It was like her going, right, if I go and if they tell me the truth now, after all we've been through over the last week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, in sort of real time, if they tell me now, then then I'm fine. If they don't, then I'm peeved. I'm even more peeved than I was before.
I wonder if it was a litmus test of, can I live this lie? Can I be around these people knowing that every single one of them is lying to me in some way or another? I think that it could have that could have been what she was trying to figure out. And then you see kind of in that scene where she's back to basics. She's on her own again. She can't trust her friends. That's two friends that have betrayed her in her eyes, through Eve and through Kara. So yeah, what's next for her? That's really fascinating. And I don't think it'll be a villain, but not everybody has to be good or evil. She could be, I don't know, what is Lena without Kara as her moral compass, effectively? What is she without the support of the friends that she's made?
I think she could be disruptive. I don't think she's going to be the main villain, though.
Maybe not even that, though. I think maybe she'll just be distant rather than anything else. She
could potentially do a lot of damage to the team just simply by refusing to help them.
Yeah. Yeah, and she could have little sly digs at Kara that hint that she knows her identity without actually coming out and saying it as well.
I'm pretty sure that now that Kara has explicitly stated that she's going to tell Lena, then what's going to happen is that Lena will reveal that she knows Kara's Supergirl right before she actually tells her.
Or you'll have an episode where Kara keeps going to Lena trying to tell her, and then some disaster happens at that moment. It's and it was going to happen about 3 or 4 times. Lena, I've got something to tell you. Boom. Oh no, I should go and write about this. All those lame excuses that she comes up with. Chris, give us a rise.
Manchester Black was pants, and I think it would have been better off without him. There you go, that was quick.
That was one of mine. Absolutely.
Do you know what? I was kind of looking forward to him being involved, because a lot of, people said, he's a dark character and it'll be a different twist because everyone else is kind of bubbly and light and I'll go for it. And he's going to be evil and dark. And in the end, I was no, nah. He didn't amount to anything by the end. And I kind of feel there was a whole chunk of story that you could have just ripped out there and it wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference.
So it's because his motivation makes no sense, though. He's a pacifist, then his girlfriend dies, and now he's not a pacifist anymore.
Now he's very much on a murder spree, and and even then it's all the stuff with John trying to talk him down and sort him out and lead him on the path, and it was just this is just going on. It's how many chances does this man need? Look,
he's dug up your father's grave. You're not getting through to him. I mean, why are we wasting our time here? And then he gets killed so anticlimactically as well. Yeah, it was just bad. He was really good in his first episode, though. I really liked the fight scene that he did where he just didn't touch them. He just dodged out the way and stuff. That was really cool. And then he was flying around wearing a Legion ring, firing guns at people later on in the season. It's what? It's another what is going on here.
It reeked to me of, we need something that'll look kind of cool in trailers and stuff, and folk will get excited about the introduction of this character, and then they didn't really do anything great.
He really needs to wash his t-shirt. And then when they introduced the Elite, so you had Menagerie and the Hat, or Hats, or whatever his name was.
Just Hat, I think.
Yeah, that was crap as well.
Yeah, and also like the invisible alien, the kept on forgetting was there.
Yeah,
because it was invisible.
Yeah, Attack of the Invisible Aliens. It's over there.
But Budget Cut the Alien.
Yeah.
That was his actual name. Was Budget Cut the Alien.
Yeah. If you haven't already, you should watch the animated film Superman versus the Elite.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that actually. Yeah, it's really, really good and a much more interesting version of the character.
Yeah, Manchester Black is white in that one, but in this one there's that uncomfortable question around, why do you call yourself Manchester Black? It's because, I'm black and I'm from Manchester. It's like
I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. He was crap. I completely agree. That was a good one. That saves me one. So, Andrew, you get to be positive.
I will be kneeling before Nia. I really like her. I think the character has a great deal of potential for future growth and development. And I like how the show acknowledges the fact that she's transgender, but it doesn't constantly make a big thing about it. It's not shied away from, but it just comes up as and when it's relevant.
Yeah, and it's like only women in her family can have the powers, but she is a woman. Like she feels like one.
Yeah, like she is a woman. She was just born male.
Yeah,
or like assigned male, I think is the way to say it. And since all the Catco stuff is being scaled back, I really like that they've now given her powers that have become integrated into the super team operation. I mean that she'll have a lot of use and purpose going forwards, and we'll see a lot more of her.
Rubbish costume though.
I quite liked it actually.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks a bit store-bought, and I think that needs some work. I liked Nia as well. Particularly the episode where her mum dies and her family find out that she's like the dreamer in the family, because it's a once-in-a-generation sort of thing. It's the bit where her sister says, "You're not even a real woman." And that that says so much about like intolerance. Or like casual intolerance. It's like, it's easy to be tolerant when it doesn't really affect you, because she'd already assumed that, I'm the woman in the family, so therefore I will have these powers. I'm the one that's trained for them, and it's just that unguarded moment. And how many friendships or family connections have been destroyed because of that one unguarded moment where people say something that they don't really mean in the heat of the moment. And it's, these shows are often criticised for being very forced in the way they deliver plot. Not so in this case. That felt very natural. You've seen that happen. Maybe not that exact scenario, but you've seen that happen. Where people just outbursts like that. So, yeah, she's great, and she had a great energy. I liked it when she was introduced, and Kara was like, "Oh my god, that's me!" like 4 years ago.
Yeah, because just like the really, just like the opening moments, like when you see her, you like as you tell it's like that's like original Kara.
Yeah, her dropping empty coffee cups that are apparently full. That happened in one scene. It was just there's nothing in them.
Yeah, Peter saying we can't be asked clearing up afterwards.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the guy with the mop, he's not around at the moment. He's on his lunch. We'll just have an empty cup.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked the fact that she was an apprentice on both sides of Kara's life. She was like training to be a journalist. She was training to be a superhero, and I think she integrates well with the rest of the cast. It's an interesting character. I didn't have any problems with her.
Her back and forth with Brainy is really good.
Yeah, the relationship with Brainy, that slow build, I think I said it in the mid-season one as well. Like, that's been so much fun to watch. It's another one where they've not really rushed at it too much.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if they carry that on and they stay stable with it and they don't mess about with it too much. But yeah, it will be interesting to see where it goes.
There's that thing where Brainy knows about her children, so he doesn't want to interfere with that. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I mean, he has no idea how the future's going to play out now anyway, because, he's involved. Time travel in this show too, come on. So I'm finishing on a rise against, finishing on a negative. I'm going to finish on this Alex's mind wipe. Not because it was a bad idea. I think it was actually a very good idea, because I think that the fact is it wasn't forced on her. She made that choice herself. So it wasn't going to, we didn't have to put up with the tedious, she's got her memory back and she's upset with Kara for making that choice for her. It's like, no, it was her choice. She saw it as a necessity. And it ties into that kind of, that back and forth she has with that Colonel Haley, which I thought was really good as well. I think that you would always expect Colonel Haley to be the antagonist, but she was quite reasonable some of the times. It's just a lot of the time, actually, but there was just certain boundaries that she wouldn't cross. And there were certain points where Alex would push her too far and it would cause problems that way. That was really good. But yeah, the fact that her remembering who Supergirl really is dangerous for everyone concerned, because they're, instead of random drug tests, they're doing random memory tests. And the DEO, it's whatever, it's a fantasy superhero world, we can live with that. But yeah, the mind wipe, I don't think they did enough with it. You had a couple of bits where she felt out of sorts, and it's sort of tied into her adoption story, which kind of went nowhere. I mean, a separate rise against would be Jimmy's sister, because she sucks.
I had her on my list. Yeah. It was like, why?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I'm just going to badger you into going to therapy. It's like, all right. Leave me alone. It's like, I'm going to trigger an episode by warning you about triggering an episode. But anyway, the mind wipe didn't really go anywhere. And then it just gets resolved very quickly. In the same episode that Jean's like, nope, can't be undone. Sorry, I did a real number on her mind. Oh, look, all it takes is remembering clapping for some reason. Yeah. So, yeah, I wasn't sure what they were going to do with that. And they didn't really do anything with it. But I quite liked the idea. They had little bits and pieces here that could have turned into something, such as, since she doesn't know that Kara is Supergirl, she sees Supergirl as a nuisance. Because it's no longer through the lens of, that's my sister. It's through the lens of, my God, I wish she would think before she flies in and does something. And you had a little bit of that, but not too much of it, which is a shame.
They played about a little bit with it. Like, our tolerancy towards aliens was different for a point, and I think
she was still friends with Jean, so
well, that's the thing. It lasted like about an episode or so, where it was like, oh, she was being a bit tougher, and then that they just seemed to go, oh right, yeah, we're not going to commit to that because it's going to make the character, we're going to push our character down to like a more villainy arc where she's like, I can understand where these guys are coming from, So I was like, okay, that's. Like, maybe that's why they've not done it. But then I almost thought, well, after a point, they could tell her.
Yeah.
Like, is it okay, our memories are erased, but they can tell her. And then it might have, like, jogged her memory back into place or something.
Or she could figure it out.
Or she could figure it out. But I have the feeling that if it was the figuring out, rather than this, like, coming to a realisation and the memories, like, flooding back, if she had figured it out herself, she wouldn't maybe have remembered the fact that it was her that opted for it in the first place and wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So then you would have the betrayal storyline, and I think, I can't remember, had this happened by the mid-season or not? I remember having a discussion with you about this, where I was like, oh, I really don't want to sit through the 5 episodes where she can't get over the fact that she had her mind erased. Yeah. Like, oh, you've played about with my entire memories and now everything's all a mess. And that, I was like, oh, I don't want to watch all that because I can predict exactly where it's going to go. I'm glad they didn't do that. But yeah, overall, it kind of seemed a bit. And then add to that the fact of all the random people at the DEO that somehow knew as well.
I mean, it changes up the dynamic a little bit because now she has a dynamic with Kara, her sister, and with Supergirl, the superhero, which is 2 separate relationships for a little while. And that was quite good. And I liked how overprotective she was of Kara as well. Just like, oh, I want you out of danger. I don't want you anywhere near this. She's like, I'll be fine. And like, well, she doesn't know that. And there's certain childhood memories she doesn't have anymore because they're gone. these formative memories have been erased and all that kind of stuff. So it's really good in that sense. But yeah, it was just a background detail that I kind of forgot about at one point because they'd done so little with it, and then you got to this point where it was like, oh yeah, she doesn't know who Kara really is. Oh yeah.
It felt to me that it was a subplot that they intended to do more with. But after they introduced it, then they realised that it was going to make things too complicated. So they just abandoned the ideas that they had and just decided to undo it to restore things to the status quo, so they could carry on as normal.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was my final Rise Against. That's the final Rise Against as well. So we'll kind of briefly talk a bit about what we think is going to happen next season. We get a bit of Crisis set up where that pesky monitor's cutting about doing stuff.
Just so kind of there.
Yeah, he's brought Jean's evil twin from Mars, whoever that guy is.
I'm guessing that's going to tie into the comments that Jean made earlier in the episode about running away from a battle.
Yeah. So you've got that, and it looks like he's bringing Lex Luthor back in some form. So that's mainly the setup for next season that we've got, apart from the Lena stuff that we've already talked about. But I really like, now that we've talked about all the shows collectively, I really like that we've got a tease for Crisis in every single one of the shows in some way. I mean, the Legend one was stupid, of course. The Monitor standing eating popcorn instead of actually doing something. But so you've got... So in the Flash, he's not there. They just rewind the date. Arrow, he takes Oliver, and then in the future takes Felicity for reasons unknown. In Legends, as we mentioned, he's eating popcorn because everyone enjoys a either sweet or salty snack, depending on your preference. It can be sweet and salty. Do you think he's a sweet and salty sort of guy?
I think he mixes it up a bit. I think he maybe even pours M&Ms in there and sort of mixes it about a bit.
That sounds good. Right, yeah. And in this, he's bringing Jean's evil twin and bringing back Lex Luthor for some reason. So we don't know how all these jigsaw pieces connect up for Crisis. But I've got to say, my expectations for Crisis are pretty damn high.
Just for the very fact that they're actually calling it Crisis on Infinite Earths, then it has to be something spectacular and fundamentally world-altering. Otherwise, there's no point of doing a variation on that arc.
Yeah,
because it was just so, it's like seminal and seismic for the entire universe.
Yeah, and Chris and I discussed this in one or both of the previous podcasts that you weren't on, Andrew. It was the idea that potentially next season, the first half of next season, is all going to be building towards Crisis in some way. So every show will have its individual story, that's going on. But at least every a couple of episodes, they'll sort of do something that ties into the Crisis story, or something will be happening in the background that's ticking along towards that. I think you're going to... I mean, as much as I hate this phrase in television because it shows up all the time, where a character turns dramatically to the camera and says, "A storm is coming." I feel like everyone's going to be saying that next season. And maybe it's Barry, because maybe he sees the newspaper article, the date has changed. And he's like, "Right, guys, this is happening this year. We need to prepare for whatever the hell this is." So maybe, I don't know, maybe the Flash turns up in the first episode of each of the shows and warns everyone. And then they build up to it in some way.
I think it would be good if there was some sort of warning that they're given. I don't know how well that'll work in or not. My expectations are so ridiculously high for this, and I'm just hoping, and I've said this on the other podcasts as well, that they have planned this out and they know what they're doing, that the writers of all the individual shows are fully invested in it, that it's not something that's just been flung on them at the last minute or as a surprise. They've been teasing elements of this for so long, so you've got to hope that they've sat there, got them all round the table as much as possible and went, right, here's the plan. Here's what's happening on this show, and this show, and this show, and here's the here's the big bit where it all comes together in the end. You know, and if you've got someone watching it overall, because otherwise it is going to be an absolute mess. And I don't think they would recover from the disappointment if they do this badly.
It's almost like Endgame levels of expectations, on television. I mean, who'd have thought we'd have these two large events in 1 year?
I do like that the Monitor sort of turned up in Legends and ate popcorn, went to Arrow and just picked up, picked up the lead. Meanwhile, in Supergirl, he's like, do you know what? I'm going to revive a villain and bring you a new villain. You're welcome. Bye. And then she popped off. You know.
I mean, Elseworlds was a glorified trailer for Crisis, as it turns out. But it seems like the Monitor has plans, and his motivations are very shaky. So they're going to spend some time on what he is and what he does and what his role in all this is. And
also acknowledge whether or not they're going to bring in the Anti-Monitor as well.
Well, I think that will happen, yeah. The Anti-Monitor is far too complicated to explain on this podcast, but I'll put it in the show notes, read about it. It's, I'm pretty sure the Wikipedia article won't do him justice either. But I get the impression the Monitor isn't like a villain. He's kind of a, one of these cosmic scale sort of guys. He does whatever bits and pieces he needs to do in order to get things in motion and plays his part. So if that means bringing Jean's evil twin, that means bringing Jean's evil twin. Lex must be useful for Crisis in some way.
It seems to be like his purpose is to maintain this cosmic balance. If in the process that requires the sacrifice of a few lives, or even a few hundred lives, then in the grand scheme of things, as the way he perceives them, then that's just something necessary.
Yeah. Or a few Earths.
Indeed, yeah.
Well, he accepts Oliver Queen's deal because you can't not agree with Oliver Queen, apparently.
Yeah, and I also think that we're also going to be seeing some events on other Earths as well.
Yeah,
because purely by the nature of the story, it involves all the Earths. So so I think to preclude them in the build-up to it would be a massive oversight.
Well, that's what we think's happening with Arrow next season, don't we? Speaking for Chris here.
Speaking for me.
Yeah, as in it's possible that Oliver's story for at least a few episodes is going to different Earths and maybe seeing different versions of himself or different versions of his friends and doing stuff.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, we'll see. Can't wait to podcast about that in December. It's playing in 2 parts though. It's like the first half of it before Christmas, and then after Christmas we'll get. So there's 2 podcasts about Crisis. Jesus, 2. Wow. Which means that the Arrow episode will be its last one. Probably. Worrisome. Big deal. Are we ready for the emotional fallout of Endgame and this in 1 year?
Just about. Maybe if we steal ourselves.
Can just about cope.
Like Nate.
Nate. Yeah, brought to life by Kumbaya sing-song.
Let's not go back there.
Yeah, let's not. Okay, so that was a comprehensive discussion. The Supergirl one was always going to be bigger than the Legends one, because Legends is like, haha, it's funny. And I mean, it's deeper than that, but So, Andrew, thank you for representing the pro-alien debate.
Yes, well, I shall leave it with my head held high, confident in the knowledge that I retain the moral high ground.
And Chris, did that article you read change your mind?
Upon review, it appears that I have been wrong in my views this entire time. I am now going to live a better life and be the best version of myself.
And did you notice the spelling mistake in the second paragraph?
No, I don't know how to spell.
It tears apart the entire article. You're the perfect audience for that sort of journalism. I don't know how to spell. I can barely read. This works. And I'm going to revive my evil twin and bring him to Earth, because something to do, isn't it? So, that was our discussion on Supergirl Season 4. Special thanks to YouTubers Dagma and Neil Stenson for the supplied music. If you enjoyed what you heard, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, or any major podcasting app. iTunes users, please do leave us a star rating and a comment. If If you want to talk to us about Supergirl, the Arrowverse, or anything else, then hit us up on Facebook or Twitter under Kneel Before Blog, or leave a comment on kneelbeforeblog.co.uk. As always, we hope you'll join us on the next Kneel Before Pod.